Welcome to the Deer Society podcast. Here's your host, Bryan Lemke.
Well, hey everybody, welcome back to the Deer Society podcast. I'm Bryan Lemke and joined here today by Mike Dukart, Chris Dukart, and very special guest out of Nashville recording artist Michael Austin. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. Just happy to be here, that's for sure.
Well, welcome up here to Minnesota, and we got some awesome things to talk about. One of the main subjects is a brand new thing in our industry, and it's a song, it's a movement, and it's a lifestyle, and that's Deer Huntin Man. And Michael is the recording artist for Deer Huntin Man, and it's something that we're releasing through the Deer Society along with other collaborators, and it's going to be something pretty special and really be a movement in the hunting industry and outside of the hunting industry as well. So we're pretty excited about that. So we're going to talk about that. But first, let's talk to you, Michael. Tell us about how you got started in your music career and just background on yourself.
Well, once upon a time ago. No, I love telling this story. It's a fun one. I got started in the industry, I guess. It's when you become a professional. It's the first time you get paid for doing something, right?
Right.
So I was 7 years old. I was at a place called the Liberty Bar and Grill in Warsaw, Missouri. And I was out back trying to sneak some barbecue off of the smokers that were back there. And there was a guy named Orrin Nichols that was playing guitar. And I started singing along, and he says, well, do you know any songs all the way through? And I said, well, yes, sir. And he said, well, listen, he says, if we go inside and you do your songs and they like you, he says, I'll pay you. And I was like, okay. And so I went in, I did 2 songs, and when it was all over, I was addicted to just the way the crowd made me feel. My parents looked horrified when I started, but they were okay by the end of it. And then when he handed me a $10 bill for 2 songs, I was hooked, man. I was like, wow. I mean, $10 back then, you could buy anything. But my mom quickly introduced me to the music business and promptly turned that 10 into 2 5s and gave half to my brother. So I learned the industry pretty well, pretty quick. So, yeah, that's how I got started as far as my love of performing. And then just growing up around the Branson-style shows, growing up in Missouri, Uncle Bob's Truman Lake Opry, Jim Hayes Osage Jamboree, Presley's Mountain Music Jubilee, out of Branson. It's doing shows like that and having fun doing that, and then wanting to do more, wanting to entertain, being able to touch people in a special way that if they had a bad day, a song's going to change that. And it's just been a lifelong thing for me to keep doing that. And it's been my balance. I've had jobs that weren't so cool and not so nice, but I was always able to go back to that and say, hey, I'm well balanced. I can keep that in check and make somebody have a good day just for doing that. So, and that just kind of grew to what it is today, man. Signed artist out of Nashville, and you never think that's going to happen to you, and it did. And I'm just, I'm truly blessed. God is great every day, and just happy to be a part of this, man. This is exciting for me to be able to merge 2 big pieces of my life, hunting and music all into the same thing. So just happy about everything, really.
That's awesome. Well, it sounds like you're truly living the good life. And speaking of the good life, that's
interesting segue.
Yeah, nailed that one for sure. But tell us about the good life and some of the recent things you've had going on here.
So the Good Life is my first solo album out with Black Sheep Records, and recently acquired by Sony CMG, and so we're having a lot of fun with it. The Good Life, the single, is pretty much about living the good life, realizing that it's not what money can buy, it's what you can find happiness in, which in our industry, you got to find the simple things. You got to remember that a summer rain is something to be enjoyed. You got to remember that, finding that love, that place that puts you at peace. So the single, I think, resonated with a lot of people and shot up to number 28 on the charts, and I was happy to be there, and number 7 on the video charts. I think it was because of the cute girl I had in the video. If you have a cute girl in the video, it works. So, but I had a blast with that, and now we're looking forward to our next single, and we're definitely looking forward to Deer Huntin Man getting out on the airwaves and stirring up the crowds with that, and bring it all home, man. Make it all this big movement that we need in America today. So
Absolutely. Well, we definitely need a movement like this in America now with all the crazy things going on out there. It's nice to be able to focus on a project that's got some real positivity and some real meaning behind it, and a pretty cool lifestyle that I think everybody can really enjoy and live. Moving on past the musical background, you and Mike and Chris have a lot in common and have kind of built a bond throughout this thing, which is kind of cool, through law enforcement and you guys all kind of being in the military. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's the camaraderie that you find with anybody that's served. Like we probably could have stayed in the office next door for another couple of hours telling stories, war stories they call them.
I think we did 3 podcasts in there.
Yeah, exactly. We'll never run out of material that way, but when you have that camaraderie that comes with knowing that you served your country for a certain purpose, and you have that patriotism and wanting to see the American dream flourish, and then being a part of a grassroots thing like Deer Society and Illusion, and bringing that all to fruition, because back in the day, we were all getting off that bus, standing in those footsteps, picking up those bags, dropping those bags, putting our faces in the ground and wondering if you were going to survive. But, once you get through that, man, there's no more sense of accomplishment than the day that you finish training and you're like, wow, this is what it's all about, and you keep that, and you carry that with you. So, having veteran brothers that are involved with any project is always more special for me, as far as being a part of something like that. And it's just a way to let everybody know that, veterans are simple people too. We just had a little, early calling, and we jumped on that boat and we just kept going.
Yeah. I think some of the, when you start talking to someone that you meet for the first time and, you tell them a little bit about your background and what your experiences are, and you see these commonalities, that's the big draw, I think. There's not a lot of communication being talked about, in middle America, rural, that kind of thing. I know what really struck me with Michael was that, he's from the Ozarks. Well, hey, I visited the Ozarks. I kind of get it. I got that feeling about that area. And, he talked about selling minnows down on the dock. And, that's rural America. Those are real experiences. And, in my growing up in a small town, those types of things and those types of experiences that a lot of people don't get. Then you start getting into the military and the way you think. You got that like thinking where, someone once said to me, and I never even picked up on this. They said, do you realize, I said, I wish I could have done something different, or I would have done this differently, or blah, 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 blah. And I says, do you really think that way? He says, do you even know that everything you've ever done in your life is for someone else? And it just caught me off guard. And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? Well, the culture that I grew up in and what was instilled in me since I've been growing up, I didn't even realize it. Everything I've ever chosen to do going into the military, that's for other people. Well, I get out. What do? I go right to coaching. That's for helping and teaching other people. Then I get into, I worked at Mayo Clinic. Well, obviously that's helping other people. And then now we help people, learn about hunting and understand. And it's, once again, you're helping other people become more successful. And that's truly where fulfillment comes from in the mindset. And so when you find people that have those like experiences and like thought processes, there's just an automatic bond. And we talked about the movement. That's what the Deer Society is going to be. And it's going to be based off of those same common principles. And, I look over here to Chris on my right. I was in the Marine Corps, in the military, and you always want your kids to be, better, have it better than you. And that's what each generation does. And, I look at him and his accomplishments, and I'm like, wow, he's like 10 times the man I'll ever be. You know what I mean? And so that in itself is fulfillment. And so that's where that common bond is, what he did in the Marine Corps is 10 times more than what I ever did in the Marine Corps, but there's still that, it's not a comparison. It's just a common factor.
Yeah, and there's just experiences that I guess no one else can really relate to, I guess, unless you've actually been through the military, been through these experiences. So just talking to your wife or maybe just like a close friend that's never experienced, sometimes you might get that kind of glassy, like fogged over look, or you might talk right over the head. And then you don't have to go and break down every sentence and be like, okay, well, this acronym I just stated off here, because that's how we talk as acronyms for the most part. So it's kind of like our own language. And yeah, it's just almost therapy, just like music can be therapy.
Yeah.
You know, a certain part of your life that was very important in all of our lives. It's a very significant, pretty much event that we went through, you know, even though they're all totally different events, they're all still the same. So it's that little bit of therapy. That's what I love about it.
What do you remember when right before you went in, you were that teenager that, you know, you get to that, I think it's about 18 or 19 when you just know more than anybody in the world, especially your parents.
Yeah.
You know, and there that head button starts going on. You're becoming your own man, and that's just natural progression. And after he got out of boot camp and in the, you know, the military, and he came home, we would sit down and our conversations were completely opposite. I mean, it's just like, oh yeah, this, that, you know, so that camaraderie, that connection that you're talking about. Mm-hmm. Now I had that with my son for the first time, and it blew my mind. You know what I mean? It's like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. So, and we have that with anybody.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, because training was training pretty much back in the day, and you could talk to anybody about the front-leaning rest position, and they're going to know what that means, you know, or going to a chow hall and making everything a sandwich because you didn't have time to eat because they were, you know, everything was a time thing. It was regimented. You just go. And it's funny how when you meet other vets, you can see sometimes they'll eat a little faster than normal people, and their wives or their even the women that serve will eat a little faster, and their husband's sitting there eating like a bird's like, you know, she's ready for dessert, and he's like, but I still have some of my chicken fried steak, you know, and you're like, what are you gonna do with that? But you the funny thing is to go to a restaurant sometimes and look, and you can pick them out, man. Vets can sense other vets, and that's a funny thing, but it's a cultural thing. And the good thing about that camaraderie is it leads to other things, you know, reaching out and doing other things that might help the society, you know, understand what we do or how we perceive patriotism or anything that we do. So it's a blast being able to hang out with these guys and be part of this whole thing. And I mean, it doesn't get any better than this. We're having more fun than grown-ups should be allowed to have, as far as I'm concerned. You know, when you're that kid and you start, you don't know where you're going to end up. So ending up in a place like this and a time like this, man, I'll take it every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
It's funny you say that about, you know, the different things that we have in common. You don't even know you have it, really, because I remember I went into a business meeting one time, and we met at this restaurant. And I never knew this guy that was coming in, you know, and he was some kind of investment banker guy or something. I don't remember what it was, but we knew a little bit about each other, and a friend of mine introduced me. So we show up at this place. We're going to have this meeting. Guy comes walking in. Hey, how you doing? I'm Mike. Blah, blah, blah. He goes, yeah, I figured you were Mike. He says, like a typical Marine, back is never to the door. And I'm like, that caught me off guard. I'm like, you know what? Every time I go into a room or a building, I never have my back to, you know, where the flow of traffic is going to be. I have to be aware of my situation. I didn't even realize it until that day. I was doing it all the time. And I look at Chris, he's doing it all the time. You know,
something you just do kind of subconsciously.
Subconsciously, yeah. You don't even know it, you know. And it's those little things like that make that connection, I guess.
Yeah, I still find it hard to just have a conversation at dinner. It's just like, oh, food's here. We just got to get that done. Then we'll have our conversation. We'll pick up after we get this situation here.
Like, slow down. What's the rush? And I'm like, oh, yeah, normal. Yeah.
Chris wins.
That's it. Yeah.
5-minute dinners at Chris's house.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, he'll sit there and prepare the meal for 2 hours, 3 hours. They sit down to eat. Boom. It's over.
It's like, do you even taste that? Oh, yeah.
I usually serve my wife and daughter up first, and then my meal will come out maybe like 5-10 minutes after theirs, and I'll still somehow be done before.
So I learned a trick, and I got to tell you guys. So the trick is when you cook, you just sample, right? And then you serve them, and then you're kind of full, so that slows you down a little bit. You're like, oh, no, I don't think I could eat all of that. And it puts you in that mindset, man. So now when I cook, I sample the whole time I'm cooking. Everybody goes like, are you going to join us? And I go, oh, yeah, I'm good, you know. And then you eat this little portion. They think, oh, you eat like a bird. Well, look at me. Do I look like I eat like a bird, you know?
Well, you guys,
I'm eating half a rack before I brought it to you.
you must have that in common. Do you like to cook?
Oh, love to cook.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely love
Chris
to cook.
too.
Oh,
Yeah, there he's big into that. So
Yeah, being on tour, sometimes you only get stuck with a couple of stations on the satellite, and the cooking channel always came up. So I was like, I watch it and I get hungry. Go, oh yeah, I want to do that. So I'd get home and I'd try and replicate what I saw on like America's Top Chef or Iron Chef was always a good one. I never knew what a daikon radish was until I watched that. But now I use it all the time. I'm like, oh, hey, look, I cook with daikon radish. It makes me feel, I need to get one of those fancy jackets or something to wear around the house. But
as long as you don't act like that one guy that's screaming at everybody else.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, is that Ramsey you're talking about?
Oh, yeah, Chef
yeah,
Ramsey.
oh,
There's
yeah.
a few of them on there.
Man.
We'll have to see if we can get you made a Deer Huntin Man apron.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, Chef Ramsey must have been a DI in the Marine Corps.
You would think.
Maybe the Royal Marines. He's British or something.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right, Royal Marine.
Well, no, that's awesome, and I know that in the first conversation that Mike and everybody here had with you, you could tell that there was that immediate kind of bond there, and you talking about your background, and when we're putting this Deer Hunting Man project together, it seemed like the perfect fit, and everybody was immediately excited about where it was going to go, and you being the recording artist on the song. So let's talk about Deer Hunting Man a little bit. Mm-hmm. So. It's obviously it's a song, but it's more than a song. The Deer Huntin Man, like we mentioned a couple times before, is a movement and it's a lifestyle. Mike, maybe I'll kick it to you and talk about what Deer Huntin Man really is and what it's about.
Yeah, on Deer Huntin Man, it just, first of all, the song, it's a little bit of everything we just kind of covered, to be honest with you. But it all started with a songwriter emailed Deer Society and said, hey, I got this song about deer hunting and, I'd love to work with you guys. So we get the song and, like everything, everybody's coming to us all the time with these different ideas and products and that kind of thing. And, so we do video, we use music, we, do that stuff. And so we listen to it and I listen to it and I'm like, it's not so bad, and you got to listen to a song 3 or 4 or 5 times to really get a feel for, what it's going to be. It's like the first time you hear a song on the radio, you're not like totally, oh, I love this song. It's the best thing ever. But about the 5th or 6th time, hey, I love this song. And so that's what I did. I listened to it 4 or 5, 6 times. And I found myself later in the day, I'm singing the lyrics and it's stuck in my head like a jingle, I'm like, this is a pretty good song. And it's like, this is a good song, And it's like, dude, this song is good. This could be big, And so I went through that process and just fell in love with the song. And fast forward, we were thinking about what's that going to do for us. So talking with Chris, talking with JJ, and just kind of talking about the song a little bit. And it's like, you know what? We could use this. This is something that we could use that would, kind of connect Nashville with hunting. And there's always already that connection there. And so next thing you know, we're getting a phone call and it's the former lead guitarist of Smash Mouth who's producing this record and blah, 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 blah. And things just started rolling out of the blue. And now here we are. We got chosen and you, Bryan and Adam and JJ are actually shooting we're partners in this song. We're partners in the music video. We're partners in the thing. It's actually, like you say, it's a movement. And so we're going to take this song I think it's going to go gold. I really do. I know a little bit about marketing products and I know a little bit about identifying, products and how to get them out there. And we created a product out of this and I honestly think it's going to be big. So take a look at it. Now the Marine kicks in. We start creating things, And so what are some of the things about hunting and deer hunting that we could, make better or problems that we can solve or misconceptions about what hunting is? And so we started there and then it just kind of rolled into this, we could do this, we could do that. And people really don't understand what hunting is. Now they do now after COVID.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. When you can't go and find, hamburger, things like that. And everybody's like, oh, we don't have any meat, this and this. And I go, geez, I got more than I can eat. You need some?
Yeah.
You know, and I've been giving it away for a long time because that's just what we do. So this movement is really about understanding that hunters and sportsmen and their families and people that love the outdoors, whether they hunt or not, have so much in common. And if we can create a dialogue around that, we're going to take a portion of this proceeds and we're going to put it towards educating and entertaining all demographics of people who love the outdoors, who love wildlife. I don't care if you're considered a tree hugger or what you're considered. The things that we're doing are all in common good. You know, the passion that, you know, hunters and outdoorsmen have for wildlife is beyond anything you can imagine. The amount of money that's putting into habitat and the wellness of wildlife is phenomenal. And it's almost all coming from outdoorsmen, sportsmen, hunters. And so getting that out and showing that happening and getting rid of kind of the extremist angles of everything, you know, and just making it a movement, and proceeds are going towards the betterment and the understanding, you know, as a I don't know, demographic or race or however you want to put it, groups, you know, that we're you know, not only are we in this together, but we're all on the same page, you know, and everything that's happening, you know, is going to be beneficial for everybody. So that's kind of an idea. So now part of the proceeds of the song are going to go toward this thing we've been talking with the Archery Trade Association, which is, you know, it's a pretty big organization that kind of oversees archery in our industry, from the manufacturing and all different aspects of archery. And they have a program that they started called Field to Fork. Okay, so the people get to understand that. So we're kind of on the same page with them. So we're going to be supporting that with, you know, funding and also with content, you know, as a part of this Deer Hunting Man movement or platform. We got all kinds of great people that are getting involved from the food aspect. We talked about that. We love to cook, the food. I mean, there is no more natural, organic, healthy food than good wild venison. I mean, it doesn't get any more pure and healthy, and the protein, the quality.
Not to mention tasty.
Not to mention tasty.
Yeah.
You know, especially if you know how to cook.
Exactly.
So there's that aspect to it. There's the management aspect to it, not only with the environment, but with the herds themselves. You know, if you can just see it over and over. Too many wolves, detrimental. Too many, not that hunters and sportsmen don't love the majestic, you know, use for a wolf. I mean, they're amazing, you know, but you let it get out of hand and it's destructive. Okay, so it's that balance and those types of education. Too many deer. People are dying on roads. I mean, you can just go on and on. It's ruining crops. They're killing, you know, the environment. Their niches are getting destroyed because there's too many of them. I mean, there's that balance and, you know, the education of that. And then there's the part of a sportsman and a hunter where you go out and when you're harvesting your own food, it's an experience that can't really be explained. So you really need to go through the process of really understanding what it is and getting rid of the evil trophy hunter, you know, type topic.
Yeah.
You know, we don't need to go to those extremes. Let's talk about really what this is. And, you know, there's people out there that, you know, they'll buy a whole chicken and they'll cut that chicken up. And I mean, you're processing an animal there. Okay. You may not have harvested that animal, you know, but let's talk about the process of, you know, managing, taking care of whatever, harvesting, processing, and consuming, and the health benefits and all that. So there's just so many things that, you know, this movement is going to entail. And I'm not going to say in a nutshell because that was long, but and it was pretty detailed. Yeah. But that's really what the movement is all about. And you know, the song and the fun and the partying and all the things that are going to go along with this platform are just it's extremely exciting, and it's going to be a blast.
I think that's one of the coolest things about this whole thing is, on the front end, it started as the Deer Huntin Man song, and the Deer Huntin Man song, I think one is going to be a new deer hunter's anthem, really, or an anthem for anyone hunting. I can see myself, anyone out there on the way to their tree stand in the morning. What are they playing? Deer Huntin Man to get pumped up and go get in the tree, right?
Yeah.
So one, that's awesome, and I think the song is going to do great outside the industry as well when we encompass it with this whole message and movement behind it, because as much as the song is amazing, it's so much more than that song, and kind of creating a platform to show everybody, not just more about hunting and what hunting is about, but the whole process and help people understand what we as hunters are all about.
And I'll add to that because I kind of missed it a little bit. I'll make it short, but the content and the information, even though it will be consumed by us sportsmen and hunters, because that's really where our distribution and our following comes from, it's really meant for outside of the hunting industry. But it's the hunting industry getting behind this messaging and being a part of this understanding and messaging, positive messaging for neutral people. And, it's going to, by default, recruit people that, hey, I want to try that. You know what I mean? So it's going to bring in new outdoorsmen, whether they end up being a cameraman or they end up being the guy that actually goes out and, harvests a deer. It doesn't make any difference. I mean, there's a great example. Look at you and Adam. You love to hunt, this and that. How many times has Adam hunted or taken a deer?
Not a single time. It's not a single day in his life has he ever hunted.
And he's so passionate about this. It's just amazing, and the positive things that he brings. The editing, and it's phenomenal. And great example with Mike Krompass, his wife's a vegan, so he don't get to eat meat hardly at all. And so, but he has, how would Andrew Zimmer feel about that? It's just those types of things. I just wanted to kind of bring that up.
Yeah, going back, touching on what you were talking about earlier about how people can get in tune with hunters and how they express themselves. A lot of people think, I've heard it several times where they say, "Oh, you guys are out of touch with reality. This is how the world is." I think as a hunter, you're more in tune with nature and your surroundings and what it takes to get to the point where you are. I've never seen anybody go into a supermarket and put their hand on a roast and say, thank you God for this bounty and thank you for giving your life to sustain my family. But as a hunter, I've been doing that since I was a kid. You always give thanks for what you're going to utilize, and you never go out there and take more than what you can sustain and your family can sustain, because that's how it is. And to be able to educate people on conservation and management through this movement, I think is going to be an absolute bombshell to the way that people think about hunters. Because more people are becoming hunters, with the recent crisis that have come, going in and paying, $12 for a pound of hamburger. They look at it kind of funny because, and we're not going to get too political, but when the government runs the USDA and they have certain parameters on the beef and they have to run through the packing plants and so on and so forth, when you go out and harvest your own animal, that's a self-harvest. So you're going to take that animal and that's going to sustain your family. And if you learn to hunt that way, you can also, when you go to a different spectrum of your life or if in more need, you can harvest other, your other animals, your beef, your chicken, and so on and so forth, because that puts you in tune with that animal, what that animal is giving up to sustain you and your family. So I think as a whole, it's a beautiful movement. It's very touching. It's more than a natural thing because we are consumers of what the earth has and its bounty, and we take that in, and we're thankful for that. And I think that that's one thing that somebody that's so anti-hunter looks at is we don't do this for fun. We're thankful because we get to do this and we get to take care of ourselves and our families. So I think it's monumentally one of the best movements I think I've seen in the hunting industry since I've been a little kid. So I couldn't be any more proud than be a part of this, guys. And that comes from my heart when it comes down to it. nobody's really had this idea to come out and say these things or to want to do these things or to want to help educate. So this is huge, and props to you for bringing it out and putting it on the table.
Well, and I'm going to lead Chris into this, but the thing of it is, we aren't forcing, or we don't have an agenda here to try and convince people you need to be a hunter. That's not what this is about. And this is where Chris comes in. My boys, I've never pushed them into hunting or calling. And I got all these different calls I've made. I used to compete in, world championships of goose calling and things like that. I never made them do any of that. I watched them, and if they got interested in it, then I embraced it, and I tried to teach and lead them down a certain deal. And as you hunt, there's different aspects of it. I mean, you go out and you're like, you're nervous, you're excited, or this and that, and then all of a sudden you get that burst adrenaline rush. And that's a whole nother aspect. Now you get consumed by that. Okay, so then you can't get enough information, and and then you go through that stage. Then you get to my age where well, actually, there's another stage in between there where I decided I wanted to do it more as a life, professional. I hate to use that word, but I wanted to do it. Be in the industry. That's the thing they're saying now. So then there's that one. You get really serious about it. It can get really specific, and then you go through one more transition where I'm at now, where you just feel so much fulfillment. You're not chasing the rush anymore. You're not chasing that as much. You're not really chasing anything. You're just trying to, make things better and get people to understand. I'm getting that fulfillment of teaching and everything. And Chris, for example, JJ picked up on it, went nuts. I mean, talk about a hunter. Wow. Chris was in the Marine Corps, gets out, and now JJ connects with him, and he's, why don't you kind of talk about how you're getting more into hunting? Now, you would think, because he's my son, he's a super hardcore deer hunter or a super hardcore goose hunter or whatever it was. That's not the way it worked in our family. And that's not the way it worked for me either. Nobody hunted in my family. I just picked it up. So talk about that transition, Chris, from the military and JJ coming in and really kind of pulling you in.
Yeah, it's just been kind of a nice bonding between me and my brother. I mean, we kind of both split and left the houses at high school, which, we've always been pretty close, 15 months apart. I mean, we all have the same group of friends growing up. But it was that, little brother, older brother, high school, kind of a thing, still kind of sorting out the pecking order, and then poof, we both go our different ways. And so now coming back, it's really nice. Just, he's actually kind of, I was always kind of the older one, always leading him. He'd have to learn from my example that I'd set and teaching him. And now, since he is so knowledgeable and good at what he does, he's kind of my mentor, and he's definitely kind of reversed the roles here. So it's been fun going through that process with him and building that bond and just kind of growing and learning and getting more into the hunting, and definitely learned a lot. And, this movement, like you said, though, it's not exactly all about getting everybody that's not a hunter to become a hunter.
No.
But I definitely think it's a great time in society right now where you can you see all the different restaurants that are popping up. It's all about, locally sourced food, sustainability, organic, and just what people are buying. They're more conscious of that stuff too. And, this is just another way, and it's a great positive message of how we can come together and see where we actually intertwine in society, from different aspects of life and where we come from, and just, bridge those gaps and, just bring that unity, definitely, like you said, we need it right now. Just one more way to bring that unity together in society and just realize, hey, we're all kind of on the same team. We all have commonalities, and I think it's a great time for this movement to actually, explode.
And at that same time, you're benefiting the wildlife itself. Harvest is part of it, whether it's, if it gets out of control, it's really bad and ugly. So you're doing that, you're supporting commerce, the industry, you're creating jobs, all those types of things. It's just a huge beneficial thing, movement wise. And once again, it's a party.
That's exactly right. Well, it's interesting, and I want to talk about this a little bit. And this is something that's just happened recently with COVID. And Mike, you can kind of touch on it and how businesses in the hunting industry were really deemed essential, right? I mean,
yes, they were. They were, and by default, what happened during this crisis is that we saw the fishing licenses in Minnesota go up 40%. It blew my mind. and their projections for hunting is that it's going to go way up as well. And during this really bad pandemic, sales of different, fishing equipment, and I think even Michael can talk to this a little bit because of his connections with the industry, but that went way up. And if you look at Minnesota, Minnesota has some major companies within the hunting and fishing industry. And so if they were to shut down our industry in Minnesota, if our governor would have done that, it would have had a massive impact on, in some cases, it could have been survival. Think about this. Think about the things that are happening right now. And the things that there's so many, there's just tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of people out there right now that absolutely could not survive on their own if they have to. They couldn't do it. Okay? Us hunters, we look at it like, you really can't survive? You really can't even feed yourself? Are you serious? I mean, it's baffling to us.
So time for education with a program like this is paramount, I think. And what a time for this to actually come to the table now, to where we're getting ready to get it out there, because we see the fishing licenses and hunting licenses go up, and what you don't want is a bunch of uneducated people going out and doing the wrong thing. So
Right.
I think being able, the timeliness of this message going out and the education that it represents is definitely the perfect window of opportunity to make it happen and to make a huge impact for the future, as far as sustainability and education moving forward. And I think nobody ever thought that this could happen. Nobody, last year would have said, oh, the whole world's going to shut down because of this, and we're going to see things and do things that we've never done before. But now we're actually seeing it happen. And when you have somebody, I was at the dam at Percy Priest Lake the other day and watched a kid trying to figure out how to tie a hook. Mm-hmm. And I was able to show him how to do a simple, knot. And then I say, hey, the fish ain't going to come off this way. But education right now, I think, is paramount in, especially with the hunting industry, as far as safety and proper hunting techniques and proper harvest. Because if you get somebody out there and they go, oh, well, I killed the deer, now what do I do? Yep. So the whole thing needs to be put into this package. And I think that the Deer Hunting Man platform is the perfect package to deliver on all fronts, with the education, the easing into it. Like you guys said, nobody's forcing anybody to do anything.
Yeah.
We're offering the information. It's here if you want it. It's like that pamphlet that's as you leave the dentist's office about flossing. It's going to make your life better. You just got to learn how to do it right. And there you go. And then it makes your life better, and all is great with the world. So, here it is. It's going to be available to everybody. I think it's going to be priceless information, and what a way to do it and a time to do it. And there you go, man. And
that's what makes it a great fit for Deer Society, because that's what Deer Society platform has been. I mean, you don't want to just say, hey, this is what, deer hunting and hunting is about. And no, you want people, if they are enthused about it and want to try it, they need to understand how to be successful at it. Mm-hmm. These are basic life survival skills you're teaching them, and, the fulfillment and the competence. And when I'm not going to use that word lightly, competence is so lacking right now in some of this generation that's coming up, because they don't have the ability to be, self-sufficient, or even have this, the ability to sustain their own lives. I mean, Chris, you know something about survival. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that? And I wonder if it isn't a combination of, we want our kids to have it better than we did. I mean, every parent has that instinct. Every generation has that instinct.
Are you saying like maybe we're just too pessimistic looking down? Like,
no, I think we're being too easy on them. Okay. As far as, or we're no. Let me take that back. That was a Marine saying that.
I was going to say that's a Marine.
Shocking.
Yeah. It popped out. I couldn't control it. I'm going to back off that just a little bit. No, I think that we as parents think that fulfilling our duties is to give them what they need and not have them fail or fall or not succeed or see disappointment or all those bad things that come with actually, growing up and becoming a real adult. And I'm not talking just young man or, women, just adult period as a person. It doesn't matter if, one of the fastest growing demographics in archery right now and in deer hunting is females. I mean, it's blowing up. So that's kind of where my mind was on it, once again, that education and.
Yeah. And then along with the education, I mean, it's not just deer hunting per se, and it's not even just go and get your own protein, fish, duck, deer. I mean, when you're out here in the woods, I mean, it's all dependent on region, but I mean, we have plenty of wild asparagus to pick that you can go out while you're hunting. Maybe you're doing some work on the land. Maybe look for some fiddleheads, which is just an immature fern that's edible. I mean, there's mushrooms, tons of different edible mushrooms out there. So there's a huge
right now.
There's a huge foraging aspect to us too, where you can actually collect your whole meal, or maybe you are vegan and you kind of want to stay away from the killing the animal thing, or maybe not. Harvesting an animal isn't maybe as palatable to you. There's still a wide variety of being involved in the outdoors and that self-sustainable.
Well, you guys are a perfect example of that. Look at your guys' farm out here and down the road. And, I know you spend a lot of time out there. Most of it's probably not hunting. I mean, you probably spend the majority of the time out there with your family, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, from anything, like I take my daughter out there to do art projects in nature and stuff like that for school, because I'm a teacher right now, apparently part-time. But I mean, yeah, it's a great classroom too. You know what I mean? It's a great classroom. It's a way, she knows when I'm going to be going out there and doing work, and she asks every time, well, can I come out there today? And it's like, well, maybe not today. I've got a little bit more heavy duty stuff going on, but yeah, it's definitely
gotta love the enthusiasm.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
JJ's got his little one out there sending us pictures all the time.
Yeah.
And JJ's big into these. He's on this big fruit tree kick. I mean, this is consume this guy. I mean, I plotted one here, and he's got all these plots on there. I got another one. Look at the size of this one. We're finding apple trees out there like crazy, and so he's getting a kick out of that.
Yeah, we got a new name for JJ. It's JJ Appleseed. And, when JJ sends his weekly map update of the property, I'm losing topographical features now because of all his pins of fruit trees.
Yeah.
So I just see this big all these red dots, and I'm like, holy cow. Is chicken pox outbreak? What's going on here?
Yeah, and then the bees are coming next. So yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. The cool thing about Deer Huntin Man too is if you hear Deer Huntin Man, what I think you're going to find out too is it's not just about the Deer Huntin Man as we've been talking. It's about the people that support them. It's about the deer hunting women and just the women and the wives and the girlfriends and the moms and the dads and the daughters and the people outside of it, that support hunting and even at this point that don't support hunting, that we want to educate and help you, bring you in and just help you understand what us deer hunting men do.
Yeah, even if you're neutral, it doesn't even matter. In fact, to be honest with you, a big part of distribution on this, and by the way, we're working with Sony. A big part of the distribution on this is going to be over in the UK and up in Canada. It's an international movement. It's not just, hey, we're going to do this in Minnesota and down south where they deer hunt. No, that's not it at all. This is outside of the hunting demographic where the big push and the big movement is going. And like you say, it's a neutralized type of audience. I'm sure there's going to be a little negative from some of the extremists and stuff, but whatever. Yeah. Just take it with a grain of salt and move on.
There's always going to be a critic, I mean, no matter what you do. And the thing about it is that, again, Michael, like you said, we're not trying to make you a deer hunter. Somebody that's not a deer hunter, I'm not trying to make you a deer hunter.
No, it's a party.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But, it's just about providing the education that's there and
Well, I mean, we talked about, the women that are into hunting, and it's more of a clan, which another word for clan is family. So pretty much we're opening our arms as hunters and gatherers and saying welcome to the family, and this is a better way for you to This is an education for you to become better part of you. You're going to get educated. You're going to find that you know more than you thought you knew. And a movement, when you have that many people involved, it spreads like wildfire. And the next thing you know, you've got a clan or a family that's just, as big as you ever wanted it to be. And then you start finding that commonality, like we found in our service. You find that hunter, and you'll start to know them too. You'll be talking about venison, and a guy said, "Oh, I tried this recipe,"
Yeah.
Or you'll be talking about something else, or I tried this technique, or hey, when you go to harvest, try this. Just helpful little things that people will start passing on. And with a movement like that, man, wildfire. You start the little bitty brush fires, and then it just becomes one big ball of flames, and there you go.
Where you're going to find out that the things that we, are doing are supportive of what you would consider opposite thought process, just because the way our political system has tried to divide everybody. They're thinking, oh, well, they're, the big feedlot, all the, environmental things with farming, actually what we're doing, it kind of, dilutes some of that argument or whatever. It's a commonality, you know what I mean? And those are the things that aren't happening. It's not that connection of commonality isn't there because nobody's doing it, because they'd rather do the opposite. And that's not what this is at all. This isn't going to be a fight. This isn't going to be a, raising money for legal fees to do this and support. That's not what this is at all. It's the exact opposite of that, if you will. And, I know we're getting a little long here, but there's such a big part of the production piece of this that's so cool and such an awesome experience that we want to share with everybody too. Flying to the UK and filming over there's some cool stuff happening here that we're not even going to get to today.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll save that for a different podcast, but we got to fly over there to the UK. I mean, this production process so far for this Deer Huntin Man video has been from Nashville to Minnesota to the UK to kind of all over, and worked with all these different people, and is pretty awesome seeing Michael, seeing you over there rocking Deer Hunt Man and Deer Society walking down the streets basically right outside of London there.
Yeah,
so
you gotta love it, man. And the cool thing about it is we were so embraced by everybody over there, and they had fun with it, which is where we wanted it to be. It's an all-inclusive thing, man. Yeah. You don't have to be any certain this or that, man. It all are welcome here. Exactly. Welcome to the table. We could say, hey, there's always a place for you at my table. There it is. There's always a place for you within this whole thing, regardless if you're a hunter or not. This is, everybody gets in on this, and like you said, it's a big party and family reunions. That's what we'll call it. When all these people get together and become a part of this, it's fun. And like I said, it's more fun than grown-ups should be allowed to have. And I know we definitely had more fun than grown-ups should be allowed to have.
Absolutely, we did, and we're going to continue to do that. And what do you have to look forward to? Deer Huntin Man song is coming soon. Look forward to that. It is awesome. The video is out of this world. Michael, awesome job on the song, singing, everything. Deer Huntin Man song is amazing. Deer Huntin Man platform, quickly following that and accompanying it. We're going to be releasing a film here shortly after the video releases, the original music video, that kind of outlines the Deer Huntin Man platform and what the movement's about, and talking to hunters and non-hunters and different people that are going to be included in that film. It's going to be a really cool one. So stay tuned for that. Definitely go check out Michael Austin, check out The Good Life and his new album and all his new stuff coming. We appreciate you listening. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe or download the free Deer Society app for more. Michael, thanks, man.
My pleasure, guys. Really, I've had a blast. The whole thing is just, good times.
Absolutely.
Good times.
Thanks, guys.